Unorthodox radio from Boston and beyond. Heat981fm.com and iHeartStation.
Nancia, Smokehouse, it's the urban heat. Shout out to Coach Live.
Coach LA, it's time to listen to conversations that's gonna keep you winning. Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on the urban heat, just calling. Conversations with Coach La 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 La. Coach La 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 La. If you got something on your mind, you can call in, you can hit a line. She the realest, ooh, she the realest. You can tap in, loud, or get a business to empower you so that you can do every and anything that you want to. Kicking it with Coach LA, it's time to listen to conversations that's gonna keep you winning. Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on the urban heat, just calling. Conversations with Coach La 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 La. Coach La 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 La.
Y'all know I always get super excited about my theme song. Shout out to Miss Nancia for hooking me up with the theme song. You guys are tuned into another episode of Conversations with Coach Live with your favorite around the way therapist, logging right in from Hyde Park, Massachusetts at the Urban Heat Studios. You guys know we're on iHeartRadio, right? You better download the iHeartRadio app. If you haven't done so already, follow the heat. And make sure you tell a friend that it's time to join me on the virtual couch. So we are radio with a purpose, and they like to call me Coach around these parts. So tonight, we are having a conversation about something that I think is near and dear to a lot of us, which is collaboration. Now, you might be saying, well, why is Coach talking about collaboration on a show that's supposed to be talking about mental health? Well, let me tell you something. I tell you guys to bet on self every single week. But how do you do that? And sometimes you need help. Sometimes you got to get support. You got to create a team when you don't have a team, especially shout out to all the solo entrepreneurs out there like myself. How are you going to achieve your goals if you don't learn how to work with people? And when you don't have support, it does impact your mental health. You're more stressed out. You're worried. You don't know how you're going to get things done. We got to learn how to ask for help, folks. So tonight, I have a special woman that I have met only virtually. I'm having the pleasure of being in the same space with her in July because I am emceeing and she is the keynote of a event called the Business Shower, which is breaking barriers that are really going to help entrepreneurs connect and collaborate. So, of course, I wanted to get to know her before I meet her in person and bring her on my show, because a lot of people who listen to my show happen to be entrepreneurs or have a desire to become an entrepreneur, want to quit their jobs and jump and work for themselves. So I want this show to give you the support and the tools that you need to build your mental capacity and your fortitude to be able to achieve your goals. So let me tell you a little bit about Miss Deana, because she bad, y'all. She bad. I was checking her out on social media. She cute too. And she always very stylish, right? But she is from Brooklyn. And you know, Brooklyn people, they got a swag about them. So she's from Brooklyn. She considers herself a master connector, which I love because I call myself a master networker. So I think when you put a master networker and a master connector together, you're going to have an amazing conversation. She's also a business strategist. And for anybody that is trying to start a business, get your pen and your paper, because she is going to drop some jewels, some nuggets, some gems. And not to mention, you need to get tickets so you can hear her whole. She's only giving y'all a little tad bit of knowledge tonight. But if you really want to hear her, you need to make sure that you are at the Business Shower that's going down in July, which I'm going to put some more information on the screen about that in just a moment. She's also a mom. You know, we be wearing multiple hats. As Black women, we do a lot of things, but I'm not calling us strong anymore, y'all. I'm calling us powerful. Black women are powerful. We are powerful, determined, feminine beings. So she is a mom of 3. So tonight I'm pushing it by having her on my show at 10 o'clock at night. But she made a special exception for me. She's also a breast cancer survivor, which you already know. That's a whole nother walk of faith that we can dive into. But that means that she got fortitude, she has resilience, she has determination, and most importantly, she has faith. But through her Success Tribe, which I love the name of this, she has a Success Tribe network where she brings diverse experts and organizations together to foster relationships, y'all, that grow and help them scale the impact through innovative ideas and valuable intros. If y'all don't give it up for her, because I want to know how she even decided to do all of that, okay? But let's bring her on, Miss Deana Jean, right? Your collabo queen. What's up, girl?
What's going on? Hey, Coach La. I'm loving the music. I'm loving the vibe. I'm loving the intro. So thank you so much for all of the amazing love. What's going on, everybody?
Yes, it's good to have you here, sis. It is good to have you
you.
here. I'm glad you made this exception for me. But it is, Women's Herstory Month. So what better way but to have some people and women that are doing phenomenal things. And sometimes we get only the mainstream. And I'm not saying you're not mainstream, but I didn't know about you. So I'm glad that I got a chance to get to know you. And I know some other people may not know about you. And some people on your network may not know about me.
That's
so
right.
We're doing some collaboration real time.
It's a collab.
Yes.
That's it. That's all it is.
Real time. We are collaborating real time. We already got some folks joining in. So we can say what's up to everybody that's tuned in through Facebook, iHeartRadio, YouTube, LinkedIn. Yeah, baby. Coaches everywhere.
Everywhere. And I got my people in there too. Y'all got to represent. Let us know that y'all are here.
Y'all know y'all be up late. So come on now. Y'all need to tag a friend because we're going to talk about some things. Pull out a pen. What's going on, Ray? Thank you for tuning in. We got a lot of people tuning in from Facebook. Now,
I love that.
Here's a little something, y'all. If you guys do not accept StreamYard, we don't see your name. It just says Facebook user. So if I'm not saying your name, it's because it just says Facebook user, but I see you. I hear a whole bunch of hey girl. I hear network. I hear absolutely. Oh, Jessica's on here too. We got
see.
Yeah, Jessica, make sure you drop that link in the comments, okay? So people can get a ticket to the business shower.
Business shower, yeah.
So I'm glad she's on there. All right. So without further ado, right? Tell me, who is Deana Jean? Like, I know I read a little bit about your bio, but tell us something we don't know. Like,
wow. Well, I mean, I gave y'all a lot in the bio, right? One of the things that wasn't mentioned is that I'm also a wife, right? So I'm a mother. I'm also a wife to an amazing retired military veteran. Super, super proud of that. And he actually, his last tour was in the Boston area. So he was in Boston during COVID, and we were here in New York. But I'm also very much just like a real person who believes that real relationships are truly the key to every success that you can have in life.
Relationships are the centerpiece.
Yeah.
You can't do anything without relationship. And I know a lot of people only have like linear thought about family or partner, but everything is connection, is relationship. And relationships are not just long-term. They could be short-term, just short interactions.
Yeah.
I use this statement, maybe you're familiar with it, about being a season, a reason, or a lifetime.
Yeah, for sure.
So I feel like even within that, that's all about relationships. Some relationships are a season, some are a lifetime, some are just to be a lesson or to teach you something really quick, and then they're on their way.
That's it. And a lot of times, we look at relationships and we don't realize that, especially in entrepreneurship, that, like you said, sometimes things are for a season or they're for a lesson. And to be able to take even maybe the challenging relationships that you face or the challenging things that happen to you and figure out what it is that you're supposed to learn in that moment that's going to prepare you for the next thing. So that's what I'm all about. And I know that that's what you're about too.
Absolutely. I realize, as I'm doing therapy, that one of the things I do well, not so well in my personal life, but in therapy, I get it. I get that, people are come in a session to kind of test drive it, see if I'm a good fit. If I'm not, they may go to someone else, and I don't take it personal.
Right.
Like I get it. Like I'm not for everybody. It's not as easy in your personal life sometimes. Like when you get to break up to makeups with men, or you have to break up with a friend.
Yeah.
Kind of stings a little bit more. But I am very good at compartmentalizing in my therapy space.
Yeah.
That people will not need me forever, and there's going to be a termination. Why?
That's good.
So that's great. Now, but in business, how do you sort of make that shift? Because I think sometimes maybe that is one of the struggles that people have with doing collaborations. It is. How do you make that shift when it's not working without damaging a relationship or a friendship or a partnership? When you say, "Hey, I don't really think we should do business. Like business ain't really our thing. We should maybe just stick to being friends, or let's part ways because we're not our values and things are not in alignment."
Yeah, so that's a great point and a great question. So what I find a lot of times is when you get into those situations where there's a mismatch when it comes to business, a lot of times it's because we're thinking in a very linear way about collaboration. We're looking at collaborations and saying, okay, are you my client? And if you're not my client, then like we can't really collaborate. And a lot of times, just like other relationships, we may be collaborating with people based on who we want them to be or what we want them to do versus who they really are. So I always say, think about truly when you're looking at collaboration, we usually put it in the 3 buckets. We say, is this person a champion, right? Like, is this a person who might not necessarily be my client, but they're a person that can spread the good news about what I do? And you can look at that from a relationship perspective as well, right? Is this person more so like a collaborator? Like they're a person who's going to get me closer to that client because we work with that same person, but we do something a little different. And then finally thinking about, all right, is this person truly my client? So I think it comes down to getting very, very clear on what you want to achieve out of the collaboration, just like it comes down to getting clear on what you want to achieve in a relationship, and then matching up those qualities with the people that you engage with.
Sounds a lot like therapy, right?
Yeah, very similar.
What you're looking for, but sometimes you don't know what you're looking for until you start looking and start actually meeting with a therapist, and that therapist may help you solidify what's missing or where the holes and gaps are so that you can go find the proper plug or prong or what you're missing. So I've come to understand that sometimes I might just be a part of their initial journey.
That's right.
Or just helping them figure out what they want in a therapist. And that might be all my job was.
Absolutely.
So, thinking about that, what does therapy mean to you? Like, have you gone to therapy? Do you find value in it? Are you like, it ain't for me?
So that's a great question. So I think that therapy is invaluable for so many reasons. I've always felt that way. And I began to feel that way even more kind of post-COVID world, right? When we were literally in this space, in this place with a mental health crisis. And me personally, I've always been the type of person where I've always had this really core and good group of girlfriends, right? That I could go to, that I could talk to, that I always felt like were kind of my built-in therapists. That's why I feel like relationships are so important. But I think it's important also to have people outside of your normal everyday life that can look inwardly at what's going on and be able to help you resolve things. Because at the end of the day, relationships also come with emotions. They also come with expectations. They also come with experience and history that sometimes makes it difficult for you to get everything that you need to get out of that conversation. But you go to a therapist, you go to someone who's trained, you go to someone who their only skin in the game is to make sure that you get what you need. It makes a big difference. So I'm a big proponent of therapy for sure.
It's so interesting that you mentioned that their only skin in the game is to help you get to what you want, because I think people forget sometimes when they come to therapy, like therapy is only as good as what you bring. That's and right. your clarity around what you want to achieve And some people will say, you know what? Well, I'm looking for a therapist that's going to keep it real with me and it's going to challenge me and it's going to, call me out and hold me accountable.
You're like, you
And,
sure?
and I'm like, I don't know, but okay. And then they're like, yeah, I want to be challenged, but not like that. Not
Right.
so much.
Not that way. Right. Exactly.
I wasn't ready for you to ask me that question.
Yeah. And same thing happens in business relationships, right? People say, hey, I want to be able to have a collaboration where we are running at this thing together, where we are achieving this specific goal. And then you get into that situation and you're like, oh, but I didn't really want it like that. Or sometimes you may create a picture or a perception of what it is that you think that you want, similar to therapy, right?
Yeah.
Without actually being in it and asking yourself, is this what I want or is this what I believe I'm supposed to be asking for?
And what is that going to feel like when I get it?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So there's a concept called feed forward. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not heard feed forward. I haven't.
So a lot of people are feedback adverse, if you cringe, I don't know. Are you good at giving feedback? Do you like getting it?
I do like getting feedback. I do, because I'm all about like being better and stronger. And I realize that sometimes it might not feel good in the moment, but yes, I'm good about it.
Have you always been like that?
No.
How did you get more comfortable with receiving feedback and looking at it from that perspective?
I had to stretch myself by getting into rooms where I wasn't the smartest person in the room.
Ooh.
I had gotten so used to being the person that was always at the top, right? The big fish in the small pond, or the big fish in the medium pond, whatever it may be. And because of that, I was not used to getting challenging feedback. But I found that because of that, also, I would reach a certain level of success and then it would be kind of stagnant and I would kind of plateau a little bit. And then when I started to get into rooms that really stretched me, I realized that feedback for me was a key factor, because that was the thing that was going to help me to accelerate. That was because I never liked being behind. I always wanted to be able to move forward. And I found that when I was in rooms where I was getting like actual like critical feedback. Now I'm not the type of person where you give me the feedback and I'm just be like, oh, okay, cool. I'm gonna do what you said. I will ask questions now. I will, put in my point of view as well. But when I get that feedback from you, if I feel like it resonates and I know that it can make me better, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna run with it for sure.
I think that's a beautiful thing. I actually feel like it comes with time that you get more comfortable, or even if you do get defensive, because I got defensive about some feedback. I'll say that today I got defensive about some feedback, is acknowledging that energy and knowing where it came from. And I think communication and being able to articulate, hey, I know I got defensive in that moment. Here's what was going on for me. Here's what I was thinking. Here's what I was feeling. So this is where the feed forward comes in at, is to look at all feedback commentary as a gift. You can use it or re-gift it, right?
I like that.
Or you can decide you don't want it at all, right? And trash it. But if it's going to help you grow, which you so eloquently said, use it. But if it's not for you, simply look at it as a gift that you can't use, and maybe somebody else might be able to use that information that was given to you, and you can pay it forward. And it's also about looking at giving people information that is going to push the needle in terms of their growth. So giving suggestions and realizing that your suggestion is just that. It is an opinion. It is suggestion. If the person chooses not to use it, no skin lost, no skin off your back.
That's right.
The other piece is, don't give unsolicited feedback. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's important, because it's important in any relationship. I feel that when you're giving feedback, if the true intention is to help somebody be better, to help them improve a process, to help them do something better, then you have to make sure that person is in a place to receive it. Because if you're just giving feedback just so that you can be combative combative, so that you can be correct, so that you can point out someone's flaws, that's not coming from a place where it's actually feedback that is going to help and support somebody's transition or help them to get to the next level. So I think that providing unsolicited feedback makes it very difficult for you to ensure that the person who you're giving the feedback to is actually in a place where they're going to be ready to implement it and see better. So yeah, I am I was speaking to someone the other day, really amazing thought leader. And we were talking about something, and she says to me, she goes, "Well, may I offer you something?" And I feel like that's a really cool way to be like, "Hey,
I like that. It feels.
for you. Like, are you ready to accept my offer?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And it's, I mean, not like it needed to be softened, but like it put me in a place where it made me aware of the fact that I was consenting. It made me feel like I was part of the process, and it allowed me to be able to ground myself for whatever was next.
Yeah, I use this with a lot of people. Is, do you need to just vent and share information? Are you looking for feedback? And I find that sometimes people get defensive because it's like it's almost like a natural jerk, right? Especially if they didn't ask for it, or they didn't expect it, right? And and you go right in with feedback that's either, like you said, somewhat harsh, too direct.
Right.
People's guard is going to be up, but you got to kind of like soften it. You ever heard of the sandwich?
Yep, exactly. Yep. Positive, then challenge, then constructive, then you put that positive back on. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So all of these are some great. I hope y'all taking notes.
Yeah.
Y'all taking notes. So once again, y'all are tuned into the Urban Heat 98.1 FM, and we are live on iHeartRadio and all social media.
Yes.
This is Conversations with Coach Law, your favorite around the way therapist. They call me Coach, y'all. I don't know how it just went to Coach, but now it's just Coach. It's not even Coach Law no more. It's just Coach.
Listen, you got to get the people what they want, right? That's what I said. You got to
give them what they want. So tell me a little bit more about the Success Tribe Network that you created. Where did that idea come from and manifest?
Wow, this is one of my favorite topics. So my background, just to go back a little bit further, is that I spent about a decade and a half in sales, training, consulting, and development in the tech industry. So toward the end of my career in sales leadership, I was a consultant that educational technology companies were calling when they were preparing for mergers and acquisitions. And they needed to make sure that they had a really strong symbiotic relationship between the main players in their client-facing teams. They needed to have similar language. They needed to make sure that their goals were aligned, all of those things. So at the end of 2019, I decided that I was going to pivot that into a consultancy, which is great. And then COVID happened a few months later. And around the time that we were getting right deep into COVID, I actually started to try to figure out how I could build community, because entrepreneurship, as you know, can be very, very lonely just by itself. And I did not have a roadmap. I did not come from a family of entrepreneurs. I came from a family of very hardworking people, but entrepreneurship was a very new bet that I was making on myself. And I knew that in order for me to thrive in it, that I had to be in rooms where people were further ahead than I was. And that became a little bit more difficult during COVID, as I'm sure you could imagine.
Yes.
It ended up kind of being a gift for me, because I logged onto this audio app called Clubhouse that's still around.
Remember that? Me too.
And if you remember, during like the height of the pandemic, Clubhouse was hopping and
it was popping,
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
the entertainers was yes.
You were in the rooms with these entertainers, with these influencers. And what I really loved about it was the opportunity to build true community with people without the facade, without feeling like there needed to be this kind of fakeness around it, right? And I'm
on the phone.
It's
I
all
think
audio.
it was all audio, and I think taking the visual away allowed people to be vulnerable and to ask transparent questions, and you could just listen. So there was also where you didn't have pressure to engage.
Exactly. You could just listen. And also the connections that you made there, you're connecting through voice. And for me, I've always been a speaker. So I felt like that was on point for me. I was here, these kids was running around doing all the things, right? So I was like, that's even better. I could be doing the dishes, I could be putting somebody to bed. Clubhouse ended up being a great thing for me. And I ended up building some incredibly amazing relationships. That's actually how I met Jessica, was on Clubhouse. And eventually people were saying, hey, Clubhouse is cool, but like, we want to take these conversations offline, because I was connecting people. I would be in a room and hear somebody say something, and then I would get on stage and be like, hey, I just heard somebody else say this. I want to connect y'all in the DMs. Da, 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 da. So we went through this process, and eventually people were like, Deana, we want you to be like, we want to be in community together. And so I decided to create a Facebook group at the time, that ended up being a membership. And it was all focused on helping entrepreneurs who are experts, who want to grow their businesses, to build true relationships that lead to awesome collaborations for growing your businesses. For those people who don't want to, email people every single day, they don't want to be on social media all the time. And eventually that evolved into this tremendous network of experts who really and truly are committed to growing together through intentional collaboration. We create referral partnerships, strategic referrals. We subcontract each other. We refer each other out for speaking. We refer each other out to our clients. And honestly, we do business and life together. And it's been really an amazing community that has helped me to thrive. But most importantly, it's put me in a position where I don't have to feel like when I talk to somebody that I need to be the person to do all the things.
She just said some bars.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the person that has to be doing all the things, right?
The things.
And I think one of the reasons why I love collaboration, and I actually made that a goal for 2024, was to collaborate more.
Yeah.
Was for that reason. How can I expand my reach if I'm only one person? Right. And also, I don't want to be a one-woman show. It's not cute, and it's
exhausting,
and it is exhausting.
Exhausting.
Collaboration is such a great way to pull that off. What else I really love about what you shared is how you took the pandemic, and a lot of people did this, and converted it into something to solve a problem and figure it out, which shows the resourcefulness of human beings in general, that we found a way to connect. We found a way to find new ways to do business and create community. And it's even awesome now that it has manifested into retreats, I believe.
Absolutely.
Like, you guys are not just y'all a tribe is an understatement.
It's a whole movement. It's a whole movement. So we do virtual events, right? Connection opportunities to really dig in and get to know people, because collaboration is not just about trading business cards. Like, if I'm going to collaborate with you, if I'm going to be referring you out to my clients, if I'm going to be hiring you for stuff, if I want to be able to refer you when I see a speaking engagement, I need to know the ins and outs of your business. So we connect virtually, but then twice a year we get together in an international location for an international collab meetup. And we're leaving for our next one in 3 weeks. 3 weeks actually from today. We are going to Montego Bay, Jamaica.
Y'all hear this? The other thing, like, thank you, Jessica. Thank you, JLW Medical Management is posting the link for the business shower. Yeah. One of the reasons why you need to be in the room with me and Deana is you need to learn how to be a master connector, how to network. You need to be able to get into a space and know how to do what she's saying, because we all know word of mouth is still one of the top ways to get business. Referrals, best way to get business. But collaborations is too, because you leverage your strengths and you're able to you leverage your strength, but you can also offset your weaknesses by collaborating.
That is exactly right.
Often we don't see that we can get so much more done together, and you also expand your reach. So like, say I do therapy, but I don't do taxes, I don't do bookkeeping, I'm not an attorney. These are all things that my clients at some point need, and it's part of practical self-care.
That's right.
There's like 6 quadrants of self-care. People only talk about doing your nails and getting massages and going on vacations, but you got to have a community. You have to have social self-care. So if you are struggling with your circle of people, maybe your network is small, maybe you've outgrown the people you used to hang out with, and like you just said, I didn't have a blueprint to be an entrepreneur, but you got a desire and a dream to do so. You got to get around people who are doing that.
That's exactly right.
Exposed to it. So get in the room, y'all. Get in the room.
Yes, get in the room, and it makes such a big difference. And I love that you mentioned the gap part, right? Because that's part of like the framework that we use, which is goals, gifts, and gaps. A lot of times that's the thing that holds us back. We're like, I'm not going to launch the business because I don't know how to do my own taxes. I'm not good with social media. Guess what? You got 11 tax accountants, right?
And bartering. I love bartering. Oh my God. Bartering has been a saving grace on so many levels.
Yeah.
So I've came across a post you put on LinkedIn in terms of AI. And I thought it was interesting because that's the new conversation. And a lot of people are extremely scared. They're feeling like it's competitive. It's going to take their job. And you had a really interesting perspective of how to look at AI. You want to tell people a little bit about how AI can be a collaborating partner?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that you're referring to the interview that I did with Sandra Strange, who is the CEO of Gatemaster Technology. And what they do is they actually are the ticketing source for many of like the amusement parks and things like that. So they use AI and technology everywhere. And we were talking about the role of AI when it comes to collaboration. And my take on it is that anytime there's new technology, that's an opportunity to get new information, new data, something that's going to make it easier for you to differentiate and to plug in the holes. So when we think about using technology, I think it's a great way to be able to help to assess skills within a group, to assess what it is that you truly need so that you can better find strong collaboration partners. One of the ways that we use AI in the Success Tribe Network is we actually have a quiz that we created called the Collab quiz. And that Collab quiz, once you take it, it's like 10 questions. It actually spits out results to tell you the type of collaborator that you are, what your collaboration strengths are, but most importantly, the types of people that you need on your team to balance you out in collaboration. What an amazing way to use technology to ensure that you are being more efficient, but also more precise in the way that you are approaching collaboration.
Absolutely. And I think it's been positioned in a way, that can be really scary. But just like anything else, it's a tool. Yes. And I've actually utilized AI to see, like, because I'm curious. I'm low key a techie, so I'm always like, well, let's see what it's about. Right. But what I loved is it's only as good as what you ask it.
That's right. That's right. So like anything.
If you're not intuitive and you don't really have a clue and you don't know what you're looking for, it's gonna send you. It's like having a calculator. Right. It's like having a calculator but not knowing the ballpark of what the answer should be.
That's exactly right. It's only as good as the input, right? Yep. So like people are like, oh, technology is going to replace you. No, because you still need somebody to work the technology. You still need somebody to program the technology. So I say use it to fill in the gaps. Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing. Use it as a bridge. Use it as a resource that can give you another notch that will help you to go further faster.
Absolutely. So I have found this because, I started doing a little bit of research. I put it in the chat too, guys. So there's 4 types of collaboration styles. Communication-oriented collaboration, which has a emphasis on effective communication among team members. There's task-oriented collaboration, which evolves around achieving a specific task, goals, and projects. Then there's network-oriented collaboration and community-oriented collaboration. And I feel like what you've done with your Tribe Success Network and even what we're going to do at the Breaking Barriers Business Shower falls in those last 2, right? It's network-oriented collaboration and community-oriented collaboration. And you have to be able to know how to do that. Now, you may know this. One of the things that is a big fear for people, a lot of people, is public speaking or talking to people in general. A lot of people get so anxious and nervous around the idea of connecting. And if you're an introverted person, do you have any suggestions on how introverted people can kind of get past that? Because that might be a barrier. That might be a barrier to the growth of their business.
Yes. So would you believe me if I told you that I myself am an introvert?
No, I would believe you. Mm-hmm. You know why? Because you loved Clubhouse.
There you go. See, you follow the breadcrumbs, right? So
you love Clubhouse and you don't mind doing this, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of people like this are introverted. A lot of people who want to get like connection and being face to face, they really don't like this. They rather be in studio. They rather meet face to face. They don't want to do any of the technology.
So the interesting part about it is that for me, so I am very much like an introvert. And I tell people all the time, that doesn't mean you're a shy person, right? Because I'm not a shy person. And it also doesn't mean that you are like recluse, right? Because I love a good like party, get together, family, friends, like intimate stuff, right? So what I say to introverts all the time is that your introversion is actually, believe it or not, your superpower when it comes to relationship building. Why? Because typically introverts prefer to go deep versus wide with relationships. Typically introverts are going to be the ones that say, listen, if I'm going to go to this networking event, first of all, I'm going to research everybody that's going to be there. And I'm looking for 2 people, right? And the 2 people that I'm looking for out of these 1,000 people, I'm a know everything there is to know about those 2 people before the thing is over with. And guess what an introvert will do? Because this is what I do. They have the contract signed before they leave the network.
You better stop. Better talk about it.
Because we focus on going deep versus wide, right? So as an introvert, listen, lean into your strengths. If you know that you're an introvert, don't sign up to go to the 4,000 person conference. Come to the Success Tribe Network retreat when it's going to be no more than 20 people there. Find a mastermind. Find a way to be able to create relationships that are going to take you further, faster, instead of trying to put yourself into a box that doesn't feel authentic, because that's where the anxiety comes up. When you feel like you got to do the things that you see all the other people doing, and vice versa. If you're an extrovert, don't try to do introvert stuff, right? Like do what comes naturally to you. Walk in your gift and you will achieve success every single time.
I love that. Now I'm gonna take it a step further. If you go to a big conference, go to the breakout sessions.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Go to the smaller, intimate ones. Take advantage of any one-on-one coaching opportunities that they have. There's always ways to make it work for you. Absolutely. Right? And I love what you're saying about that. I also have helped clients like have your go-to questions. Like how are you going to engage? What do you want to know about people? What's something cool about yourself? What's something you love about the conference? Real easy ones like, so far, what have you loved about the conference? What was your favorite workshop so far? Like you can go with low-hanging fruit to like get yourself to warm up, because most people like talking about themselves. Hey, what brought you here? Why did you pick this conference to come to? So I help people pick like questions like that so they can feel comfortable with things sort of rolling off their tongue.
Absolutely. And that's actually a big part of the reason why we have primers like our goals, gifts, and gaps framework. Because what that does is that gives people in any networking situation a guide, whether you're introvert, extrovert, ambivert, whatever you are, a guide to first of all make sure that you are connecting with intention, but also to make sure that the connections that you're making are actually going to tie back to your goals. Because yeah,
Right.
it's one thing to go into a networking situation or a conference and to not know what to say. It's another thing to sit there, talk for 3, 4 days with a person, and then come out of it and not see how it aligns to your business goals or how it aligns to goals that are going to get you further or closer to whatever it is that you want to accomplish. So it's important to be able to have that primer, but also that guide that ensures that you stay on task, but also that the questions just flow, right? One of my favorite things to do when I go to those types of conferences is I actually, if I know that there are people that I really want to meet, I reach out to people ahead of time and ask them if they want to go grab a drink or if they want to go grab lunch ahead of time. Because for me, if we're one on one or two, 2 to 1, I'm going to win every single time because I want to be able to understand what it is that really is fueling you, what it is that you want to accomplish. And that's the great part about being a connector because when I'm having a conversation with you, I'm not assuming that I'm going to be the answer to your need or your problem. What I do know though is that I know somebody that can support whatever it is that you want to do. And my favorite thing to do is to make those connections.
So let's talk a little bit about rejection, though, because I
Mm,
think in all of this, we're speaking really positive, things going really
yeah.
well, and people saying yes, and everything's gelling. But rejection is real, right? And one of my shout out to Queen, she wrote a list of people. It was called her scaredy cat list or her chicken list, right?
Like that.
People that she wanted to talk to, but she was scared to reach out to because either she thought she would get rejected or they weren't going to be interested in what she was doing.
Yeah.
Rejection, when you think about again, shows about mental health,
Mm,
being in your head and that imposter syndrome and that negative self-talk is real.
it
So
is.
what do you, first of all, do you experience that? And if you have, how do you overcome that to be so successful and so confident in what you're saying?
Yes. So first of all, yes, absolutely. Rejection. Remember, my background is sales. So I heard a lot more no's than yeses. I think that there are a couple of things. So the first thing is to always consider the source of the rejection, right? And when I was a sales coach, I used to say to people all the time, just think about it this way. You call somebody or you email somebody and they say, don't call me no more, don't email me anymore. If this person met you in a bar, you know that they will want to have a drink with you, right? But that's not the situation that you're in. So don't take it personally. That's the first thing. But then, secondly, remember that every no that you hear, it gets you closer to your yes, right? You should hear more no's than yeses. You absolutely should. Why? Because it's a process, it's data, it's information. And every no that you're hearing should be something that is giving you the opportunity to test out your messaging, to test out your strategy, right? It's all data. So use it as data. And remember, at the end of the day, in order to get to your yes, you're going to have to hear some no's. Do not take it personally. Remember that these people, again, especially if they're not even willing to have the conversation, they're actually doing you a favor because your right fit people are going to find you every single time. So every no is a setup for your right fit collaborator.
I like that. Everything's about fit. I think that translates to business, personal life, friendships. Everything is data. And when you think about data, it's feedback, it's information.
Mm-hmm.
It helps you figure things out. But the sting be real though. I think,
Absolutely.
again, you reach out to somebody, you got your courage up, you didn't research them, got their information. They're like, yeah, so I don't drink. And I don't think, and most people won't necessarily be so direct to say, I don't think you're in alignment with where I'm
Right.
doing and what I'm doing. They just might say, oh, I'll think about it. I'll circle back.
Yeah.
They might do something like that, and you circle back, and they spin you around the block again and again. I have struggled with, when do you stop following up?
That's a good one. That's a good one. So I'm gonna put my sales hat on a little bit, right? With this one, right? So I believe that it's actually important after somebody has pushed you off or pushed you down the road 2 to 3 times to then make a direct ask to give people an out. I'm very big on giving people an out. Saying to someone, hey, listen, I know that you said you wanted me to follow up with you in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I also know that your time is super valuable and mine is too. And it's absolutely okay if this isn't a good fit. Just let me know, right?
Mm-hmm.
People appreciate that transparency, and they also appreciate you being direct, right? Another way to give people an out is to simply ask them specifically what they're looking for, if anything, and be able to make a recommendation, right? So, hey, I might not be the best fit for you. Are you looking for any type of solution? Are you looking for any type of specific connection? And then actually being a bridge to that for them. Because the most important thing in sales and collaboration is you never want to burn a bridge. Because at the end of the day, even that person who has rejected having that conversation with you, if they see you as a person and you have grace in the way that you've left them, and you've left them in a way that actually gives them an out, I'm telling you, that can ultimately be one of your best collaborators. Why? Because now when they hear somebody that needs what it is that you have, and they still have that positive idea of who you are, they're going to make that recommendation. And they're going to appreciate the fact that you gave them the out, that you didn't pressure them. So I say do that for sure.
So give them an out. All right, y'all. We're getting all these gems dropped tonight on Conversations with Coach La. I told you to pull out your pen and your paper. We want you to become master networkers and master connectors. And rejection is real.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome is real. Moments of not feeling like your self-esteem being low, right? You get a couple of no's, or you fumble your words. I recently had applied to do TED Talk Roxbury.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it, right? And I thought I had it in the bag, and I got a no. And I put it out there. And I bring this up because a couple of people said, yeah, I'm not, that's why I didn't want to put it out there that I applied, or that's why I don't like telling people things until I actually know that
it's manifest, right?
It's solidified, not letting people know your moves before they're confirmed. I feel like part of why society's not okay with failing forward is because most of us are not talking about the moments that we get the no's, the rejections, or things don't work out. So I've decided to be different, but I got a lot of people like, yeah, they didn't tell. They didn't want nobody to know, or you're putting too many things out there. But I'm like, that's precisely what betting on self is about, is that some of these bets won't necessarily manifest into AKA a win,
right?
But I think it's still a win because you learn something. So I actually feel like I never lose. Every time I bet on myself, I never lose anything. What's your take on that?
Listen, I always say I never lose. I either win or I learn, right? And at the end of the day, I think, especially as entrepreneurs, it's important, and collaborators, it's important to get out of the mindset that people are expecting a perfect coach, a perfect therapist, a perfect collaborator. You presenting yourself as a human being, a person who has actually experienced rejection, very likely is drawing your ideal client closer to you because they see you as a real person and not just this persona that is getting everything together. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to be talking to a therapist that got it all together, right? I'm gonna be like, yo,
wait. First of all, hold on. You don't want to be talking to a therapist that got it all together. Now, you know, that's a point of view that, a perspective that not everybody has.
No, I'm sick because I want to talk to a therapist. So I had my pastor says this all the time, right? Like, do you want to have a pastor that literally never did anything in life, doesn't understand nothing but going to church every day, all day? Or do you want somebody that has actually experienced life and been saved from something, right?
Well, I agree with you. I think somebody had I want to say is low key shade, a little bit of judgment. I don't know if I would want to go to a therapist that has a therapist. And I'm like, first of all, that shows your lack of intelligence and your ignorance. Because what that should tell you is I'm always reflecting and checking myself.
Absolutely.
What it should tell you is that I'm not going to allow myself to get burnt out.
Yes.
What that also is doing is it's feeding the stigma that if you have a mental illness or anything mental at all, that you can't be a thriving human being and you can't be helpful to somebody else.
That's right.
And I think that's just untrue. And this is why we're as a population, a community, a society perpetuating perfectionism. And that is causing the anxiety and the depression because people think they need to be goddamn perfect.
And that's a big part of the reason why people don't collaborate too, right? Is that they want to be able to have this perception and this version of them that's presented that seems like they have it all together. I don't need any support. I can wear all of the hats when they sitting on your couch in a shambles, right? So that's why it's so important to be able to be transparent in collaboration. And you mentioned earlier about how, rejection, because rejection is just part of entrepreneurship. Rejection is part of life, right?
Part of life. Shout out to the men. I think, men get rejected a lot, right? If you've ever been a man to shoot your shot and try to pick up a girl, like most guys know what rejection is like on a whole nother level. Right. If you've done sales, you understand rejection. You're going to get more no's or not right nows or maybes. And those are just opportunities, right? They got all these acronyms for when you get a no. Yeah. Next opportunity. Yep. What's the other one that they got for when anyway, if they come to us, we'll throw them out there. But I love next opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Next opportunity.
Yeah.
You have to be able to push through that and realize that what it means, if anything else, is that maybe the person is not yet in a position to take advantage of what you have to offer. And sometimes what you have is so valuable, they can't afford it. So a lot of times people want to drop their price or they think their services are not good enough. And it really isn't anything about that. It's just that that's not your ideal customer or client, and they're not yet in a position to be able to afford what you're offering.
And a lot of times it is because we don't always know exactly what it is that we need. We're just looking at what we want. And many times that bad fit, saying no, is actually the best thing that can happen to us because it requires us to dig a little bit deeper and to look at it from a different point of view that will then create another opportunity. I remember when I was before I had, when I was in tech, and there were so many different opportunities at the time I was on a job hunt, and I still had a job, but I was looking for another one to transition out of the one that I was in. And I remember there were like 2 or 3 opportunities. I was like, why is this not working out? Like got all the way through the interview process, literally had like an offer, and then they pulled out for one reason or another. And I remember being devastated about those things. And then when the company that I ended up staying with for about a decade, when they actually interviewed me, it flowed like water. And they gave me a salary, accommodations that I hadn't even I hadn't even thought that these things were even possible. I was thinking that the opportunities that I was looking at, like that was the top of the mountaintop, but there was something there for me that I hadn't even considered, right?
Yep, so you better talk about it.
When you get that rejection, you really have to look at it and say, okay, because I'm a person of faith, right? So I always say, all right, I'm listening, God. I'm going to sit still and I'm going to wait for it to come to me. That's not easy as an entrepreneur, but it is the greatest gift that you can give yourself, is
So
to
true.
attract the things that are supposed to be in your ecosystem, in your universe.
And there was a statement that I read: everything that I want is going to be attracted to me, right? And everything that I need is going to be attracted to me. So it's like you don't have to chase it. It's going to naturally flow if you be your authentic self and you show up and you get very clear. I think the main thing to really take away from this conversation is clarity around where you are, where you're going, what your strengths are, and what kinds of people you're trying to connect with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember when I did sales, they used to have you write out people that you knew and what industries they were in and how you were connected to them and how would they be beneficial to your business. So if you're an entrepreneur listening and you haven't done this, but write out who you know and what sectors they're in, and you know how they may be able to be connected, and always start with the conversation of saying, tell me more about what's going on in your business. Like, what projects are you working on? How can I be supportive to what you have going on? Win-win situations where you seem like you're interested in that other person's success and you can align where you're going or where they're going. Those collaborations to me always
flow. You have to lead with a give.
They're like synergy. The other thing you said earlier, that made me think of this statement that I had learned when I was doing network marketing. And it was like, sometimes your biggest opportunities come disguised as bad news.
So that's a perfect pivot. Because we're going to have to close this out. But
that's a bet on yourself moment.
Yeah, that's a bet on yourself moment. But that is something that I am going to be going into in my keynote for the business shower, is how the biggest lesson that I learned in my life, basically the thing that catapulted me into entrepreneurship, was probably what I would have considered at the time to be the most devastating day of my life. And how I really had to bet on myself, but most importantly, move in fear. Understanding and knowing that I didn't know what the path was going to be, but trusting my gut and trusting the people around me and surrounding myself with people who knew more than I knew, so that I could feel comfortable enough to take the next steps. And we'll talk about how you can liken that and how I liken that situation to stepping out on faith as an entrepreneur. So y'all got to come and join us for the business shower, July 19th in Boston, where Coach Lot is going to be the MC.
MCing. Y'all make sure y'all hit the share button. Y'all put some hearts and some likes. Let people know about this live so that they can come back and grab some nuggets. But more importantly, thank you to Jessica. She's dropping it in there. And their JLW Medical Consulting Group is putting on this event at UMass Boston on July 19th. It's going to be jam-packed with resources and an opportunity to connect. And I know if you come find me, I'm going to help you connect with some people.
You know, I'm gonna be in there connecting. So you're gonna leave with more than you came with.
Not to mention, if you've ever come to any event that I host, I am gonna get you up, moving, and talking to folk. It's gonna be part of my whole MCing. You just ain't gonna be able to sit still. You're gonna find some people to connect with. I'm gonna make sure.
I'm excited.
Yes. It's gonna be so much fun. It's at my alma mater too. UMass Boston is where I went to undergrad. So I'm super excited to be on campus. They've done so much beautifying of the campus. You definitely want to be there. All right, Deana, let's tell them, how else can they find you, get connected, join your tribe? We got 2 minutes.
So
2 minutes.
Listen, I don't even need 2 minutes. So on Instagram, you can follow me at Your Collab Queen on Instagram, and then on Facebook and LinkedIn, you can follow me at Deana Jean, DeanaJean, and I would love to chat with you and love to talk to you about how we can collab and who I can connect you to. And if you have interest in our network, the Success Tribe Network, hit me up and let me know that you saw me on Conversations with Coach La, and we'll get you squared away.
You know that's right. Every Sunday, 10 p.m., we're right here talking about conversations that matter with people that are dope, doing amazing things in our community, people you need to know. Anybody that's been on my show, connect with them, reach out to them, let them know you saw them on the show. They are all super cool people. Super, super cool.
Thank you so much, Coach La.
The Urban Heat. Expect the unexpected. Unorthodox radio from Boston and beyond. Heat981fm.com and iHeartStation.
And y'all know what that means. Y'all keep betting on self. See you back here next Sunday. Thank you, Deanna. Have a beautiful evening. Y'all know what to do. Bet on self. And I'll see you next week. Good night.
Good night.